let's go back to funding again. And I was talking to one of my colleagues yesterday, and we're looking at the different projections. And of course, when you're projecting the future, you're making assumptions or whatever. But I have seen projections, as I think Lisa alluded to, that the voucher program would cost the state hundreds of millions of dollars. But I've also seen projections that the voucher program overall would save hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more. Lisa, could you explain a little bit why you and your coalition thinks vouchers would, in the long run, cost Utah a lot of money?
Well, again, it's not just me and my coalition. The numbers that we're looking at are from the impartial analysis from the legislative fiscal analyst. And you're right, any projections we make involves an element of guessing. But the fiscal analyst's job is to examine all the economic factors and all of the details of costs and expenditures as well as the savings and figure those things out. And we feel like that's the best resource to trust. And according to the fiscal analyst, it's hundreds of millions of dollars. The savings are very small, and they're loaded into the first couple of years of the system. After that, the savings level off and the cost increases. And overall, we're going to have a more expensive program that we're going to have to be paying for once the economy turns down.
Doug, how does your group see this?
I think you're exactly right. This is all driven by assumptions that people make in doing the analysis. That same fiscal analyst did and published another study that showed there'd be over $1 billion savings using different assumptions to the state over the 13 years. Economists at Utah State University were commissioned to do an impartial study 3 years ago on the program, determined there was going to be over $1 billion in savings to the state over 13 years. So that it is clear, and I think you can, the average, you don't have to be an economist to go out and analyze this in detail. You can recognize, look, if I can get kids to get educated, give them an education for $2,000 a year versus $7,500 a year, there's going to be savings. And it's that simple, and we try to cloud it and make it confusing, but the reality is the more kids I can get to volunteer to say, hey, I'll take $2,000 instead of $7,500, I'm going to save money. And we've got a lot of kids in Utah to educate. And so how can we not kind of look for an opportunity to try that program?
Jim, can I respond to that for a minute?
Sure.
That $1 billion number that you're hearing is grossly exaggerated. That number would represent the cost of educating everybody who would have gone to private schools anyway in the public schools. So that's like saying that either we vote for vouchers or we shut down all the private schools in the state, which of course nobody is suggesting. We can't figure those costs as savings when we wouldn't pay for them anyway. All those families who have always intended to send their children to private school, it's tens of thousands of children every year that are in private schools that would have gone to private schools anyway, we can't count that as a cost because there's no way we would be paying that under the current system. So we need to really look at the facts of this particular bill. What are the financial consequences of this bill, not some hypothetical thing of if we shut down all the private schools.
Can I respond to that?
Please, if you can. I don't think we'll be able to manage this, but I promise our viewers that the Daily Herald is going to keep looking at this because we haven't figured it out yet either. But we're going to keep looking at this and let you know more about it. But Doug?
Certainly the Utah State study figured in exactly that what Lisa's suggesting they didn't. That is, no, you're going to have a cost to people that would have gone to private school anyway. Here, it's pretty simple actually. We're going to have, by 13 years out, we're going to have over 700,000 kids in the public education system in Utah. And if you look at that number, what the fiscal analyst estimated was by year 13, only 2,000, a little over 2,000 kids would actually choose to go to a voucher school. I think that's such a minuscule percentage, and everyone that does move, there's big savings attached to, $5,500 on average for everyone that moves. And so if it's doing that, I think the legislature would say, well, God, it's not moving anybody. We presented to Kim Birmingham a month after the legislation was passed, 4,000 applications for scholarship, twice what the fiscal analyst says there's going to be in 13 years. I think it's a silly assumption, and that's why you can get to say, God, there's no savings here because nobody moves. If nobody moves, there's not a lot of savings. I think a lot of parents are going to move.
Okay. Well, I don't think we're going to be able to analyze all the numbers right now, but I promise I'll be back in touch with both your groups to study these a little further.